Our next guest was watching today's press briefing, and he tweeted about it, saying, and I'll quote, "White House press briefing today was hard to watch. DHS Secretary does not believe there's a crisis at the southwestern border. With respect, that defies logic, reality, and the facts. Ask communities along the border." All right, joining us now is himself, former acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf, a friend. Chad, thank you for this. Chad, first off, I don't understand. What is their policy? They're going to reunite families, but a lot of these kids came unaccompanied in the first place. And it seems to me like the basic end game here is come on into the U.S. and we'll try to catch up with you later in court, which, of course, is going to be a failure. Am I right about this, or is it more nuanced, more sensible?
Well, I think you're right, Larry. I think there's a number of things going on here. I think when we talk about children coming to the border, look, the Secretary talked about it not being a crisis at the border, and I think that's wrong. I think the facts demonstrate you have tent facilities going up across the border. You have CBP agents being reassigned from the northern border to the southern border. So clearly there's a crisis going on. But what they're doing with family units and with single adults is they're releasing them into the interior of the country. They can't do that with children, which is why the numbers from Kristen and others demonstrate how they're backing up along the border. And that's sort of the crisis that you're seeing at the moment. I thought what was also interesting at the press briefing, he talked about reuniting families. And I think that's been ongoing for 2.5 years now. But the difference and the nuance here is indicating that those that had already been deported, so those family units that had had their due process before an immigration judge and had been sent back home, that now the administration is going to bring them back to the U.S. on taxpayer dime, back to the U.S., will likely parole them in, where they will stay here in the country. Again, have no legal right to be here, have been told that they need to leave. The administration is now, I understand, talking about bringing them back, which is, again, turns immigration law on its head. So also concerning.
I mean, Chad Wolf, apart from the illegality of this, and apart from the breakdown of security at the border, and apart from disrespect to all of our uniformed people down there, isn't there a health issue just on the side? Like, we don't know, do they have COVID or any other diseases for that matter, because we haven't had time to check them out thoroughly, and we want to give them assistance, but maybe we shouldn't, and they're not going to get vaccinated. So isn't there a health issue here?
Of course there is. And so when you say there's no crisis on the border, I believe the department's losing credibility with the American people, but also with your DHS frontline officers. Many of them have not gotten the vaccine. I know the department's working hard at getting them the vaccine, but the reality is they don't have it yet. And so when you're allowing thousands, up to 4,000 folks coming across that border, and you're sending a signal that more and more will likely come, you're asking your DHS law enforcement officers to be put in a very difficult position. These are folks that are coming across the border that have no medical papers, that have no ID in many cases. We have no idea what their medical history is. We have no idea if they've had any type of vaccines of any kind. And so it's very difficult to administer medical care to them. And so you're doing that on an everyday basis, and then you overlay that with what's going on with COVID along that southwest border, and it's becoming very, very dangerous. And I just, you know, if you're not square and you're not straight with the American people, I think you're putting a lot of people at danger.
You know, Chad, President Trump, former President Trump, referred to this at the CPAC speech yesterday. The idea that the Bidens want to return to the issue of chain family, you know, husband, wife, uncle, aunt, son-in-law, second son-in-law, that they can come on in. Whereas the policies that you and I worked on under President Trump, along with many others, we wanted to go in a skills-based merit approach, not just a chain family approach. What I think I'm hearing from Mr. Mayorkas and the president is chain family, which I believe can be characterized as a failure.
Well, I think you're right. It's not only the policies that we talked about today. I think the president was also referring to a new immigration bill that has been recently introduced by the administration on Capitol Hill that talks about increasing the ways in which people come into the country legally. So increasing that chain migration that you talk about, increasing the diversity visa lottery, for instance, which is not based on merit, not based on skill, is simply a lottery. from certain countries around the world that you can come into the country. And so those were certainly issues that we talked about during our time in the Trump administration. And again, I think most Americans want to see those individuals coming here to the U.S. They're doing that on skill and merit and based on, again, their skill set. I think that's important. The recently introduced immigration bill goes in the opposite direction.
Chad Wolf, former DHS Secretary. Thank you very much, Chad. Appreciate it.